let me turn your attention briefly to a class action lawsuit that's being brought in Iowa that should be on the radar of all managers. It is the largest class action lawsuit of a group of individuals suing a government entity. And in this case, it is current Iowa African American employees, as well as some who have applied for state jobs and have not been hired. And they are suing Iowa on a case of race-based discrimination. And the basis of their argument is that although African Americans account for 2.9% of the state's population, they only account for about 2.4% of the state's workforce. So there is a difference there of 0.5%, which may not seem like much, but once you factor that difference in across the entire population of the state of Iowa, there's only about a 1 in 1 billion chance that this difference is due to random error. So that there is definitely something there, that there's this 0.5% difference between the population and the number of state employees. Now, the state is saying that we're using fair selection tests, that they've been validated and we're doing the best we can, and that diversity recruitment initiatives are in place. That the state's saying that we're going about trying to recruit the best candidates and make sure that ethnic minorities are applying for jobs. It's just for whatever reason, they're not the best candidates for any given job as we're hiring. Now, where we are in the case right now is that it has been dismissed at the county level as of April of 2012, and it's currently waiting for a state level appeal, but many pundits say that this is destined for the United States Supreme Court. Now, the key evidence from trial that was brought by the prosecution was that 75% of hiring decisions in the state of Iowa are made by white employees, and white employees have an implicit bias to favor other whites over ethnic minorities, and this subconscious in-group favoritism is akin to prejudice. This brings us to this chapter's demo, which I'm going to have you complete the implicit associations test, which was developed by Harvard University to test subconscious prejudice in people. That is, are you prejudiced but you don't want to explicitly say it? The implicit prejudice, according to researchers at Harvard, occurs at the subconscious level, so it's harder to control it. And in the implicit association test, you're going to be asked to sort a series of faces and words, and you're going to be presented with these in different conditions. In some of the conditions, you're going to be asked to click the left key if the face is white or the word is bad. Click the right key if the face is black or the word is good. Then you're going to have other conditions where you're asked to click the left key for black faces and bad words, or the right key for white faces and good words. And what we found across hundreds of thousands of repetitions of this test is that people, especially white respondents, are much quicker at completing the task when black and bad are on the same key and white and good are on the same key, as opposed to the condition on this slide on the left where white and bad are paired together and black and good are paired together. This has been used by many researchers as evidence that although many whites will say that they're not prejudiced, in fact there is favoritism to associate white people as being good or better than the black people who are more easily associated with bad words. Religion may not be as apparent when first meeting someone, but religion is indeed a protected class. We cannot discriminate for somebody based on their religion. And we know that religion may impact the way work is done, for example, in dress and grooming, as well as scheduling, such as the Muslim worker adhering to their prayer schedule as outlined by Islam, or a Jewish man refusing to work on the Sabbath, or by wearing a kippah in a company that would otherwise ban men from wearing headgear. Now, most companies try to create cultures that provide a safe environment for employees of all religions, free of discrimination, and you have to have a business justifiable reason if you are not going to allow a Muslim employee to take time for prayers, for example. Now, this business justifiable reason can create some interesting discrimination problems. Enter Disneyland in their demand that all of their public performers out in the parks adhere to what's known as the Disney look, which was written by Walt Disney himself in the 1950s in order to separate Disneyland from what Walt saw as the carnival filth that pervade the amusement park of the 1950s. The Disney dress code until 2010, women couldn't have bare legs. That if they were wearing a skirt or a dress, they had to have their legs covered by hose or stocking. And until a few weeks ago, men couldn't have facial hair. That still on the Disney books is that no employee can have a visible tattoo or a branding, and body piercing, with the exception of traditional earlobe piercing for women, is banned by people who have a public face in the Disney parks. Now, this code has caused a number of lawsuits, and Disney is slowly decreasing the requirements of their dress code and are trying to make allowances for people of different religions. But this has caused some people to say that they're not going far enough. For example, the picture on the slide saying that, okay, it's appropriate for you to wear a personal headscarf if you are a Disney employee, but you have to wear our logoed hat on top of your headgear. This has upset some Muslim employees who see it as an affront to their religious freedoms to have to wear a, really, if you look at the picture, a kind of dorky looking hat on top of their headgear. Sexual orientation and gender identity are not protected by federal law, and as a result, they're handled by employers on a workplace-by-workplace basis. Now, as an aside, putting this information together with the earlier slide labeling Nebraska as a hire-at-will state, no discrimination laws and no state discrimination laws mean that in the state of Nebraska, it's perfectly justifiable to fire somebody or to deny them a promotion because they are homosexual. Now, within most workplaces, the characteristics of sexual orientation and gender identity are treated as a protected class in order to discourage discriminated behavior, whether it's covered by a law or not. Most companies are stepping up to the plate and coming up with their own internal policies that ban discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. And most of the current debate ranges on the benefits that same-sex couples should get. More specifically, should same-sex couples have the same access to health care that married couples get? And so far, it is a employer-by-employer policy. Obama ordered in 2009 a mandate supporting +1 benefits for all federal employees, meaning that your significant other, be it a traditionally married couple, a same-sex couple, a life partner, that whoever it is entitled to the same benefits as a traditionally married spouse. More locally, within the University of Nebraska system, a similar proposition is currently being discussed to give +1 benefits regardless of marital status. Tenure refers to the length of time somebody's been on the job, and it's often tied to seniority. Often tenure is a positive sign, as it signifies people are happy with their employment because they've chosen to remain with the company for a long period of time. Therefore, employees with long tenure tend to be more productive, call in sick less frequently, and don't leave the organization as readily. They're also typically paid more and thus can be a target of cost-cutting measures. As tenure is often confounded with age, those people who have been with the company the longest also tend to be the oldest employees. It's important to look at tenure in terms of, do the employees here at our company have the job-relevant skills and abilities that newer hires have? Tenure in and of itself is not a protected class. But because tenure is so strongly correlated with age, and federal law prohibits companies from discriminating against employees over the age of 40, that you can get into trouble by trying to fire the employees that have been with your company the longest. Let's now talk about differences in skills and abilities. And although it's somewhat splitting hairs, let's talk about the difference in definition between these two terms. Ability is defined as an individual's capacity to perform various tasks associated with the job. When ability is dissected, two different factors are found. The first factor is intellectual ability. The second factor is physical ability. Skills, on the other hand, are your abilities that you have plus the techniques that you've developed to maximize your abilities. So, although we often ask, do we have the ability to read, it may be more appropriate to think about reading comprehension as a skill. Do you have strong reading skills would be a more appropriate question to ask an employee than do you have the ability to read. We don't so much care about the innate ability of most humans to be able to read written text, but instead we should care about how well have they developed their reading skills.